Black Power, SUTEK, Hotep, Walaikum Salam, General Overstand. Rather taken to you too, brother.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it over while we wait for Brother Ankh. Okay.
Okay. So everybody is aware that tonight's show discussion will center around Islam, and this discussion is not to start a beef or a war with anybody who practices Islam. But the same way that African people in the diaspora critique Christianity and other religions, we have to also critique and understand Islam. Islam is not above reproach to be criticized. The show is not an offensive against anybody in the Nation of Islam, even if some of the information presented to you, you might be offended by the truth of it, but it is not to incite hatred or violence from anybody in our community. It is not to nitpick with the people in our community. It's just that we want to align ourselves with what's going to work best for us so that we can survive in the 21st century. And I would just like to say I do not have an afro. Okay. You know, they say the Afrocentrists are the people who, like Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and Sheikh Anta Diop and Nala Karenga, you know, and others. People are called Afrocentric, but an afro is not the center of my thinking, okay? The Afro pick is not the center of my thinking. The African continent is being raped and pillaged by Arab imperialist forces as well as European Western imperialist forces. And it has been through us practicing religion from a spiritual perspective and our oppressors practicing the religion from a political perspective that has us in the caste system and this economy of slavery that we are in. So it's, again, this is not, I'm not looking to fight, you know, the MGT, but we're going to have to talk about Islam, you know what I'm saying, and the fact that a lot of people, a lot of African people in West Africa and East Africa and in the diaspora are practicing this religion, and they will tell you as a black person who has been stolen from Africa that this has always been your practice, that this is nothing new to you, that you have practiced this religion since the beginning of time. And the only thing that I would say to that is question whoever tells you something like that, because you cannot go back to the beginning of time and document the worship of Allah. The Holy Quran and the revelation to Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, he established what people today call Islam. He established the revelation of the Holy Quran over about 60 years. He established the traditions, the culture, the hadiths, the sunnah or the sayings of the Prophet. Before that, there was no Islam. There was no Islam, even if you had a word like Allah in the, in the words. You understand what I'm saying? You still had no direct worship of this deity, Allah. So the first thing I just wanted to get that out the way, because I've seen on YouTube, I've seen in chat rooms like the Farrakhan Factor and other places where Muslims feel like they are above the criticism of their Holy Quran. They're above other criticisms on the Hadith. But there are racist connotations in those things. You know what I'm saying? There's a caste system and slavery of Islam. This is where the Holy Quran comes out and say it's okay to go into communities who are pagans or who are nature worshipers, who are unbelievers of Allah, to go in and slay them and kill them. There are legal Islamic terms that you can use for that. You know, when you start talking about the Holy Quran and Prophet Muhammad, nobody wants to talk about Prophet Muhammad couldn't read or write. So what was he really being revealed? He can't read. You understand what I'm saying? So, and Brother Ankh, I think the beauty of this show is the destruction of black civilization, and we're conquered by religion, these religious systems that we are, as a spiritual people, are willing to practice, because even in Islam, you have West Africans who practice Sufi Islam, and this is more along the lines of the spiritual practices to get your higher self in tune with the divine order of the universe. Nothing is wrong with that, but if they were in tune with their African self, they would know that it's the sun that they're worshiping in Islam. It is the sun that you wake up to at 5 a.m. in the morning. You understand what I'm saying? You're waking up at 5 a.m. before the sun gets up, so that your body can be in tune with the nature's rhythm, the natural rhythm of the sun light hitting the earth, so that you can get up with the sun. And then you pray again around noon, because now the sun is at its peak. This is not Allah. This is Ra. And what's happened to us is we have allowed people to come into our African-centered movements and push these religions. And now, instead of us being black nationalists or African nationalists, we're Islamic nationalists. And we feel like our so-called leaders are above criticism when they are aligning themselves with people like Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi is now the president of the whole continent of Africa. And you have black West Africans saying he should just be the president over the Arab countries in Africa. He does not belong over here trying to tell us what to do. But Gaddafi, he helped fund Charles Taylor. He was the one who placed Charles Taylor in Liberia and killed those Africans who left America and went to Africa to repatriate. Thank Gaddafi for that. Gaddafi sent in the guns and the military capabilities so that Charles Taylor could be a dictator over Liberia. And who does he fund in America? Who is Gaddafi's friend in America? Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. And as much as I love Minister Farrakhan for the good that he has done, you have to question him on his allegiance to a known slave master. Even in Islam today, you don't have abolitionists saying free that woman from slavery, free that child from slavery. They say study the hadith and the sunnah of the prophet and what he would have done. And I'm going to drop some links in the chat room so that people can go in, and even if you want to order some of these books, you know, so that you're a well-informed person in whatever you practice, so that you're well-informed as to how not only your religious practice affects you, but also your larger community, so that you're not just practicing something to be seen as men, but that you're practicing something sincerely to affect change in humanity, especially black humanity, to the point where we're not being enslaved and conquered by these religious concepts that look at us as beneath them. So, is Brother Ankh on the line yet?
Actually, no, we're still waiting for him to come on. You might want to hit him up on a three-way and see if we can get him on. He should be finish in a minute. I'll try to hit him up real quick, okay?
Right.
All right.
So I'm going to go ahead and start going into some of the resources. You know, I know that Brother Ankh wanted to lay some historical basis of human civilization prior to Islam, you know, so that people can understand that people had a lifestyle of living on a higher plane of existence without Islam, without the Holy Quran coming in to dictate to people. And because we black, the first thing we need to talk about is slavery. Because the slavery that we have suffered, not just here in America, but even in the trans-Saharan slave trade, to this day, you still have Africans being kidnapped and taken into the masjids and forced to write the Holy Quran all day long. You still have black African boys kidnapped. You have black Indian boys being kidnapped, taken into Arabia to be horse jockeys. You still have black African women being kidnapped and being taken as wives into harems of rich Arabs. And this is not an isolated